Hey guys, we're sitting here in the workshop of our Scooter Zone Riverside store. Don't mind the mess, spring break's been crazy around here, and so might not be the cleanest. And we got a bunch of parts sitting around. Those are going to our Santa Clarita store, getting them their weekly restock. So today I'm going to show you how to fix an ovalized wheel. And what exactly is an ovalized wheel? Basically, some wheels, they get manufactured wrong, and the bearing slot's machined a little too big. Other wheels, from riding it a long time, the bearing slot can wear out. And what happens is the bearing will start to slip around in there and move, and it won't quite sit tight. And because it's doing that, if you do your little drop test and your scooter's not dialed, it's because your wheels are vibrating a little bit, or your bearing's vibrating a little bit, inside your wheel. So, I mean, really it's nothing to be too worried about. If your wheel's ovalized, it'll still ride fine your scooter. It just won't sound nice. But really, noise isn't the greatest thing in the world. But, so let me show you exactly what that is. Like I said, this can happen with any wheel, any brand, any manufacturer. It's just a defect. So basically what it means is I got these bearings right here, got the wheel, and what happens is I can push them in with my thumb. I mean, they might not go in very easily with my thumb. Sometimes the wheels are really bad and they could pop right in all the way. But like right here, I installed it halfway with basically no pressure. So I'm going to show you a couple little tricks on how to fix that. And maybe it'll help your scooter sound better. So just like that, bearings out. It really should not be that easy, so I'm going to show you a couple things. So tools you're going to need, some around here. Basically a nice flathead screwdriver, make sure the tip's nice and sharp. You're going to need your wheel, you're going to need your two bearings, your bearing spacer. And if you've watched our how-to on how to install bearings before, you'll see you could do it with a vise, like this thing next to me. You could do it with a bolt and a couple washers and bearings and tighten it in. Or you can use this thing down here, this arbor press. Because I already did it once with the bolt, I'm just going to use the press now to make it easy on myself. And that way this how-to goes a little quicker. Alright, so basically what's going on is you're going to use the tip of the screwdriver and kind of jam it in here and give it a twist. Now I have the bottom of this is laying on the bearing race here, that way I can get some leverage. And I'm just going to give it a twist, and what it's going to do is just going to make a little burr inside the wheel. Those little burrs are going to stick out, make the core a little smaller, and give the bearing something to pinch against. So when you do this, make sure not to get your hand too close. If you slip, stab yourself or cut yourself, whatever. So keep my hands a little further back. I'm just going to give it a little twist. So I'm going to push down, and I'm going to twist and pry up at the same time. And I'm going to rotate around the wheel, do this a couple times, maybe 5 or 6 times. Try and keep the spacing even. I'm not sure if it makes a difference. I think it might make a little difference. The bearing sits a little crooked. So try and keep the spacing even. It's going to mess up the outside of the core a little bit because you're pushing against it. But you can see all these tiny little burrs in here. Those are actually sticking out now from the bearing slot. And they're going to make it so the bearing has something to grab against. So you want to do this to both sides. Try and get them about halfway up, on the bearing slot. A little further up, a little further down is fine, but try and get a good amount of material to dig up there. And once you do that to both sides, you just install the bearings from there. Alright, so now we got both sides of the wheel scored, making it a little thicker, that way the bearings have room to grab. I'm going to get my two bearings, my bearing spacer. Don't take your bearing spacers out because it breaks your bearing, so keep this little guy inside. And I'm going to use our 1-ton arbor press, press it in. So this tool works beautifully if you happen to have one at home. It's perfect for changing bearings. So right there, this little drive comes down. And you see it's much harder to get the bearings in now than before. Much stiffer. It's perfect. So bearing spacer goes in. Next bearing. And same thing again. There's much more tension to put that bearing in. Keep it nice and solid in there. Stop it from rattling and making any noise. I've seen other people do it. I've seen them use electrical tape around the bearing. That works too, but it tends to wear after a while. This tends to last a lot longer. I mean, you might need to do it every month or two, or depending on how hard you ride or drop your scooter a lot, you might need to do it a little more often. But this is probably the longest lasting method we've found so far to fix your ovalized wheels. So, if you have any other things you want us to do a how-to on, leave it in the comment below, or log on to our website, thescooterzone.com, and click on the Tech Zone banner right in the middle of the homepage, and view all of our trick how-tos and all of our parts how-tos. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.